Welcome back to our second glossary episode in this Philippians series. In this video, we're going to look at some of the key Greek words used in Philippians chapter 2. Words that don't just deepen our understanding of the text, but invite us into a more intentional way of living. This chapter is often called the heart of the letter. It's where Paul calls us to humility, unity, and service, based on the mindset of Christ himself. So let's explore 6 key terms that unlock the depth of this beautiful chapter. Philippians 2:5. Have this mind among yourselves. This verb, phroneō, is all over Philippians. It means much more than think. It speaks to a mindset, an attitude, a way of orienting your whole self. In Philippians 2:5, Paul isn't just saying think like Jesus. He's saying, let your whole inner posture be shaped by his way of life, his humility, obedience, and service. This connects directly to chapter 1:9-10, where Paul prays for discernment, because mindset affects what we approve, how we respond, and who we serve. This is the slave mindset we've been talking about, not just what you believe, but how you're inclined to live. Philippians chapter 2, verses 6 and 7. Being in the form of God, taking the form of a servant. The word morphē refers to essential form or nature. So when Paul says Jesus was in the form of God, he means Christ possessed the very nature of God. But then, Paul says Jesus took on the form of a slave, morphē doulou. This is breathtaking. Jesus, who had all divine glory, didn't just act like a servant, he became one. He took on the full identity of a servant, not an assistant, not a volunteer, a slave, willing to surrender every right, even to the point of death. This deepens our understanding of humility, not as something we do occasionally, but as something we become. Philippians 2:7. This is the famous word ekenōsen, to empty, to pour out. This does not mean Jesus stopped being God. What Paul is saying is that Jesus poured himself out. He laid aside the privileges, the status, the glory that rightly belonged to him in order to obey and serve. This word gives us our theology of kenosis, the self-emptying of Christ. And here's the challenge. Are we willing to be emptied of our own reputation, our preferences, our comforts, if it means serving like Jesus? That's the heart of gospel humility. Philippians 2:9. This word only appears once in the New Testament. It's a compound word. Hyper, beyond, plus hyperypsō. It means super exalted, lifted higher than anything else. Paul wants us to see the contrast. Jesus went as low as he could go, obedient to death. And God raised him as high as possible, the name above every name. This is the pattern of the kingdom. Downward leads to upward. Exaltation comes after obedience. Glory follows surrender. And if we live with that kind of trust, that God sees, God exalts, and God is near, then we don't need to chase recognition. We can simply serve. Philippians 2:12, work out your own salvation. This is not work for salvation, but work out what God is working in. The word katergasomai means to bring something to full expression, to live it out, to put effort behind what's already true. Paul says, work it out with fear and trembling, because God is at work in you. So salvation isn't passive, it's partnership. God works in you, the will, the desire, the power, and you work it out in obedience, discernment, and joyful surrender. Philippians 2:14, do all things without grumbling. This one's worth including. Paul uses adalegata from dialogues, internal reasoning debate, to speak of grumbling, resisting, inward complaining. Grumbling breaks unity. It distorts witness. It says, I don't trust God with this. But shining like stars begins with silence, not just outwardly, but inward peace, humble surrender, and obedient action. So here are our key words from Philippians 2. Phroneō, mindset. 2. Morphē, or doulos, form of God, form of a slave. 3. Ekenōsen, emptied himself. 4. Hyperypsōsen, highly exalted. 5. Katergasomai, work out. 6. Adialogate, without grumbling. These words help us see what Paul is doing in this chapter, not just calling us to a few moral ideas, but inviting us into a new way of being. A life rooted in Christ, a mind shaped by humility, a posture of obedience, a light shining in the dark. Let this be more than a word study. Let this become your practice.